Welcome back. The phones have been humming. It's been a very exciting evening here so far. If you watched earlier, you remember that killing of the German tourist Inga Hauser in County Antrim in Northern Ireland. We've had a stream of information on that, and that information is still coming in. On the Joan McCann killing, somebody who may have been offered one of the statuettes that was stolen from her home. We may have identified someone, at least one of the people in the photo call, and one of the attackers at the Crown pub in Lower Basildon near Reading. Lots of details. Sue.
Well, first of all, the murder of 81-year-old Joan McCann at her home in Hertfordshire. Mrs McCann was a breeder of Labradors, and on the night of Thursday the 5th of May, she was returning home from a dog club meeting when an intruder broke into her cottage. She was killed before she reached her front door. Richard Pottinger, what sort of response have you had on this?
Yes, we've had a very good response, especially in respect of the bronze figures that have been shown. An awful lot of phone calls in respect to them. Some of them have been treated as urgent and being followed up at the moment.
Right, somebody, I gather, saw all three, or thinks they know where all three of the statues are.
That is correct, and we're following that up at the moment.
Right. Not such a positive response on the cars?
No, there isn't. Not many phone calls on the cars. I urgently require information concerning those vehicles to be given to us as soon as possible so they can be eliminated more than anything else.
Right. Just remind us of the main point of your appeal.
Main point of the appeal is to antique dealers, second-hand dealers in respect of the bronze figures. And I urgently ask anybody else who's got any information, really the identity of the fender or fenders in this savage murder, to contact us.
Right, Mr Pottinger, thank you.
We've had an overwhelming response on that murder of the German student in County Antrim. Inga Hauser was on holiday travelling by train through Britain. She was last seen alive on April the 6th, crossing to Northern Ireland on a Sea-Link ferry. Mr Kasky, tell us some of the information you've had.
I would like to raise two matters. One is that a Range Rover, or what looked like a Range Rover, the caller described it as a Daihatsu vehicle, two-tone blue colour, was seen driving very quickly into Ballypatrick Forest around lunchtime on Sunday the 17th of April. That was 3 days before Inga's body was found. It was seen driving out again about half an hour later. We'd be anxious to talk to the two young people who were seen in that vehicle.
Even if just to eliminate them from the inquiry?
Just to eliminate them if necessary.
Right, I gather several people believe that they have spoken to Inga on the train, and they've got a couple of leads towards County Galway.
Yes, one lady believes she spoke to Inga on the train from London to Oxford, and a caller from County Mayo believes that he gave Inga a lift just outside Galway. She had told the lady on the train that she was going to Dublin and on to Galway.
It seems to have roused an enormous amount of concern, lots of people trying to call in, and our apologies if you haven't been able to get through to the incident room, but please do, if you've got any information or think you might have, call us here in London if you can't get through there, 01811 8055, 01811 8055. The lines here will be open until midnight. We'll give you more numbers in a moment. Sue.
Well, now there's two robberies at homes in the Midlands on Friday the 13th of April. In each incident, the robbers were interrupted.
I want you back in the van. Listen to me, or I'll blow your legs off. What? Go on, move! You, bring the nipper.
They got away with thousands of pounds worth in cash and valuables, and Detective Chief Inspector Tony Brindley has been leading the investigation. You've had some interesting calls, particularly on that orange Lada that the men were seen driving away in.
Yes, we've had an excellent response, both here at Crimewatch and also at the local police station in Cheadle and Stoke-on-Trent. 7 separate calls now concerning an orange-coloured Lada, similar in description, being abandoned on the A3 at Wisley Lane Junction, Guildford, Surrey.
That far away?
That far away. 3 men, though, were seen leaving this vehicle, and I would ask that if this vehicle was being abandoned, say it was broken down or something, quite innocently, for them to come forward in order that they can be eliminated from our inquiry.
Right, I know you've got an inspector checking that out now, and you're expecting a phone call from him any minute now, so we should get confirmation of that.
Hopefully we will recover the vehicle shortly in order that it can be examined forensically.
Right. Now, what about that very unusual and distinctive men's ring? I gather somebody thinks they might know where that is.
Yes, we've had a telephone call, very interesting telephone call from a lady in Stoke-on-Trent. She was in a public house on Friday, last Friday, the 3rd of June, when a gentleman was in the public house showing off this ring. Again, this will be further investigated, but If it was being shown off quite innocently, again, I'd ask him to come forward in order that he also can be eliminated.
Right, and we've had requests to re-show the video for it, so I'll run through those descriptions very quickly. The first man was aged up to around 30, darkish or ruddy-coloured complexion and 5 foot 8 inches tall. The second one was in his mid-20s, a pale complexion with acne spots, and he was 6 feet tall.
That's
Mr. Brindley,
correct.
thank you.
Thank you.
Now to Incident Desk and Photo Call. David Hatcher has been collating the massive information that's been coming in tonight. Could we start with that really very nasty assault in the Crown Pub in Lower Basildon near Reading?
Yes, a very vicious attack. We've had several requests to see the pictures of the men that were believed connected with that raid. Again, they were seen in the pub earlier in the evening. There they are. Well, we've had several names on who they might be, both collectively and as individuals, and specific things to follow up there.
Particularly the guy lower right, I gather.
That's right, yes. Suggestions, of course, that scar is very distinctive, triangular shape there. Possible suggestions of Leeds, Reading, Dagenham area, London area and so on is where they might come from. So that could prove fruitful.
What about the Dorset hit and run, the poor guy who was laying cat's eyes in the road when somebody hit him and drove off?
Yes, the accident was on the 13th of May. That was a Friday, unfortunately, on the A356 between Crewkerne and Dorchester. Well, 66 people rang here and said they knew who might own that blue Datsun Violet. There it is, 1977 to 1980 are the possible years. We also had 12 calls to the police station, and we didn't give the number of that. Registrations numbers there will be followed up and can be easily checked on the police computer.
Right, a metallic blue-green Datsun Violet we're looking for. The vases that have been found in York, I gather somebody, or we believe we know whose they are now anyway.
Yeah, in fact, we've got 2 possible owners.
Two?
One lady had lots of people ring her and say, your vases have been on the telly, and she rang us and said, well, yes, I think they could be mine. We've also had a gentleman ring up from York saying he thinks the vases are his, and he's given us the names of artists, which does tie in a bit with the vases we've got, so it could be either of the two. Yeah. Watch this space.
Right, may have a third caller yet. What about the stolen exercise bikes?
Well, calls about the bikes being seen in leisure centres, advertised for sale in newspapers and so on all over the country. That's being followed up. Offers of them being sold cheap. They do sell legitimately for £500. Somebody said they'd been offered one for 160, so that's the sort of call that we'll be anxious to follow up.
They're called Schwinn, if anybody's interested.
That's it.
The con woman in Gloucestershire, I gather we may know who she is.
Yes, there she is. Possible names on who she might be. We've had 15 calls here, and they're all very specific, so they can be followed up. But if you think you know who she is, or particularly where she is now, still call us.
And another con man caught it on video in a video shop in Redditch.
That's correct. Possible names for him. And we've also had other offences that he's alleged to have committed as well. And we've had a request to see that picture again. Well, there he is, if you know him, and if you know where he is, call now.
And the man who called himself Smith or Johns?
That's right, yes. He was cashing cheques, obtaining goods and all sorts of things to the tune of £150,000 worth. Well, we've had a specific name for him, plus information about an accent that he's thought to have. Well, we didn't say anything about his accent, but it does tie in with what we already know, so that one looks particularly promising. The police station, incidentally, there is absolutely besieged with calls as well. So
right. The post office robber who dressed up as a police officer?
Yes, this was a nasty raid down in Whitstable in my own area. A number of suggestions with sufficient detail again to follow up about who he might be and also who his accomplice might be who was involved in the raid.
It's all very promising. Thank you.
It is indeed.
Well, finally, will the person who rang in great distress, she knows who she is and she knows why she was calling, please do ring us again. It is very important. It's in strict confidence. Please ring again. The phones here are still ringing behind us. If you've had difficulty getting through, please keep trying. The lines are going to be open here till midnight, and we'll give you the local police numbers on the screen in a few moments. You can always write to us, of course, at Crimewatch UK, BBC Television, London W12 8QT.
Programme, as I said earlier, is taking a 2-month break. I hope you have a marvellous summer. Do rejoin us when we're back early in September. Meanwhile, don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.